Today is Saturday, October 26, 2024. The title of this message is Something's Gotta Break. John 14:13 through 16 says, "And I myself will grant whatever you ask in my name, as presenting all that I am, so that the Father may be glorified and extolled in through the Son. Yes, I will grant, I myself will do for you whatever you shall ask in my name, as presenting all that I am. If you really love me, you will obey my commandments. And I will ask the Father, and he will give you another comforter, counselor, helper, intercessor, advocate, strengthener, and stand by, that he may remain with you forever." I believe that it is necessary for some things to break. It is necessary to break away from some things. Some things are only in our lives for a season. Some things only came to teach us something. Some things are for a lifetime. The best example I can give is a relationship. The last relationship that I was in, the last time that I was in love, I met this guy, and in so many ways, I believed that he was what I prayed for. And for so many different reasons, I believed that he was supposed to be my husband. I believed that he was my husband. In the biblical sense, I suppose we technically had a marriage. In the Bible, laying down with a man, laying down with a woman is actually a marriage. So, in a lot of ways, I believe this man was my divine counterpart. In a lot of ways, I believe that God put us together to be together. And that's why it was so painful when I eventually had to let him go. That's why it was so painful when I eventually had to break away. That's why it was so painful when we broke up. Because I believed he was my husband, and I couldn't conceive, I couldn't understand. For the longest time in my life, I always believed there's just one person. Everyone is given one person. And the reason why it wasn't hard for me to believe, the reason why it didn't seem impossible, is because I believe that whoever that person is, wherever you're supposed to meet them, you're going to meet them. You don't have to be afraid. You don't have to worry that you're going to miss them. That's not the way that God works. God isn't going to say you have one person and then make it hard for you to find them. He's going to put you on the proper trail. He's going to put you on the proper path at the proper time to meet that person. That's what I always believed. And then there are other people who believe that that's not the way that it works. There are other people that believe that it's like a bus, almost. If you miss one bus, then another bus will come eventually. Some people believe you have many soulmates, that all soulmates aren't meant to dwell with you for the entire lifetime. At this point, the only thing that I am 100% certain of is that sometimes something has got to break. Sometimes it is necessary to break away. And I believe that that time comes when you are no longer serving one another. It comes when you refuse to choose one another. The thing about a marriage, the thing about a union, the thing about free will is you still have to choose. In a marriage, it doesn't work if only one person chooses the other. In a marriage, it doesn't work if only one person is faithful. In a marriage, it doesn't work if only one person is trying. In a marriage, it doesn't work if only one person is vulnerable. In a marriage, it doesn't work if only one person believes. In the marriage, it doesn't work if only one person is faithful enough to see the thing, to see beyond what is in front of them. Sometimes something has got to break. Sometimes something has got to break. I think about other relationships. I think about some family relationships. When you love a person so much, when you love them in spite of them, but the reality of the situation is that there's something unhealed in them that is hurting you. There is something damaged in them that is damaging you. There is something broken in them that is breaking you. Something's got to break. Sometimes you got to break away. Sometimes you got to break away. Sometimes you got to break up. Sometimes you got to take a break. The relationship that I had with this guy, I believe that he was my husband. I'm so thankful for the experience because it taught me so much. It taught me that even though a person can appear strong and can have extremely good qualities, there can still be brokenness that they hide very well. On the flip side, even though a person on the exterior can look broken and battered, there can be so much light, so much healing occurring on the inside where you are unable to see. What I learned is even though you love a person, even though a person may be perfect for you, it doesn't mean that that is your person. Something's gotta break. Something's gotta break. A breakthrough is needed. And if it doesn't occur, chaos will ensue. Sometimes the breakthrough comes, but it's a little tardy. It's a little late in the sense that now the person who was once blind finally sees, and the other person is fed up. The other person is exhausted. The other person no longer wants to stay. Something's gotta break. John 14:16 says, "And I will ask the Father, and he will give you another comforter, counselor, helper, intercessor, advocate, strengthener, and standby, that he may remain with you forever." I was heartbroken. I cried. I wrote some poems. I wrote some songs. I think I went through every stage of grief. All of them. Maybe a couple of times. And I thank God for the truth of His Word. Because sometimes you can be so deep in grief that it feels like comfort is never going to come. It feels like intercession is never going to come. It feels like your help is never going to come. It feels like strength is never going to come, but something's got to break. That breakthrough will break that pain. That breakthrough will break that sorrow. That breakthrough will break that chain necessary to free you, necessary to free them. Because we don't have time for unhealthy soul ties. We don't have time for unhealthy attachments. We don't have time for lingering spirits that do not serve us. We don't have time for monitoring spirits. Something's gotta break. Something's gotta break. Something's gotta break. I thank God for the peace that comes after the pain. I thank God for the healing that comes after heartache and heartbreak. I thank God for putting those pieces back together after something has to break. For building you back up after something has to break. Sometimes something's gotta break. And the thing is, I think the most important lesson that I learned in my last relationship, the most important lesson that I learned was not to break my boundaries, not to break the commandments. I knew going into it that old patterns were not going to work this time, that old ways were not going to work this time, that there's a saying, when you keep trying the same thing over and over again and getting the same result, thinking that you're going to get a change, that's insanity. When you keep on doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, that's insanity. So there are many people in these so-called relationships wondering why they're failing, wondering why they're not working, because you keep doing the same thing, expecting a different result. It doesn't matter that it's a different person. It doesn't matter that they have a different name. The spirit is the same. The relationship is the same. The intention is the same. Therefore, the outcome will be the same, if not worse, than the first time. I'm thankful because I decided that if that man wasn't my husband, I must be very close, because he was very close to it. I'm thankful because what I at least received was confirmation, yeah, this way isn't going to ever work again. I got to do it God's way. I got to do it the right way, because there's another saying, God don't bless no mess, and it's the truth. Something's got to break. You got to break those old habits. You got to break those old habits. You got to break loose of those old ways. Those old ways. Those old ways that are not benefiting you. That are not yielding good fruit. That are not going to bring blessing into your life. Something's gotta break. You gotta break some chains. You gotta break some habits. You gotta break some ignorance. You gotta break some foolishness. Something's gotta break. And the thing about broken things is that the Most High God knows how to fix. He knows how to make a beautiful craft from a broken thing. He knows how to put back together a broken thing. He knows how to heal a broken thing. He knows how to mend a broken thing. Something's got to break. But fear not. You will not be broken for long. You will not be broken for long. But something's got to break. Something's got to let go. Somebody's got to let go right now. You're holding on to something that's not serving you. You're pulling on something that's not serving you. You need to release that thing. You need to break that thing. You need to surrender that thing. You need to drop that thing. Something's got to break. I promise you, I'm speaking from experience because it was not easy letting go. I'm not even going to lie to you and pretend that it was. I thank God for the truth of the word. I know there's a God because I was broken down. I was broken down. I couldn't see the light. I was devastated. It's a strange feeling when you feel like you lost your everything. Your husband, your unborn children, the life that you envisioned the two of you creating together, the accomplishments that you saw you and this person achieving, the bliss that you swore you two would have. It's a tough thing to let go of, but God is so good. God is so good because he's going to give you better than you thought you ever would have had with that person. He's going to give you better than you ever could imagine with that person. Because the fact of the matter is, it didn't work because it was never going to work. It didn't work because it wasn't supposed to work. It didn't work because for whatever reason, you two didn't choose each other. You two didn't put in the necessary work. You two were not equally yoked for it to work. But just maybe the two of you learned something. Just maybe now the two of you can properly heal on your own. Just maybe the next time you can take those lessons and apply them to the next one. Just maybe the next time is your God-ordained spouse. And the next time you will be healed to a point that you will never break. You will never break. You will stand firm together, solid as a united front, as a union, strong, fearless together, bound in love, protected through grace, secured with the shield of the Almighty, with the protection of the Almighty. What God puts together, let no man bring asunder. That's how you know. That's how you will know. No amount of gossip, no amount of third parties, no outside forces will be able to break this thing. When it is from God, it will not break. When it is with God, it will not break. When it is under God, it will not break. When it has God at the center, it will not break. When it has God as the foundation, it will not break. For all those other things, everything else, them things have to break. Anything other than that, that thing has to break. It's going to break. Some things gotta break. But be thankful for that. Be thankful for that. That is a blessing from God. There's a saying, rejection is God's protection. Be thankful for some of those things having to break. Be thankful for the things that break. Be thankful for the things that are no longer bounding you. Those things that are no longer binding you to eternal hell. Those things that are no longer binding you against the will of God, against God's plan for you. Count it all joy, because some things have got to break.